Welcome to Personal Development Mastery Podcast, where you will find both the inspiration to grow and the actions to implement towards your next level. I'm your host, 𝗁𝗲𝗄𝗆, and I've been on a journey of personal development and self-mastery for 6 years now. And my mission is to inspire you to stand out and take action towards living your best life. In this podcast, I invite myself inside the minds of authors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs, spiritual teachers, people who will inspire you to improve your life and also provide you with actions you can take and implement. So, on my ongoing journey of the podcast, on Thursday's episodes, I now focus on consolidation. Repetition is the mother of all learning, as they say. So instead of adding more knowledge, I revisit the previous episodes and consolidate the wisdom imparted by my guests. My intention in these consolidation episodes is to distill that wisdom of my guests on the topic and share it with you in a way that you will find something that clicks, that inspires you to take some action as a result. Today I will carry on with the topic of emotions for a third consolidation in a row. I believe it's one of the most important elements one can master, her emotional response. So in today's episode, we will listen about the 3 levels of emotional awareness, about feeling our emotions through, being able to sit in the discomfort of our emotions, and also about emotional prosperity. We will listen to 3 of my previous guests, Chris Marhefka, Sayyedah Hassanali, and Chris Barrow. And let's start with Chris Marhefka, who was featured on episode 136. Chris is a coach in health and wellness, mindset, leadership, and business, and he spoke about the 3 levels of emotional awareness: the actual physical sensation of a feeling, the label we term it is, the emotion we call it, and then the mental awareness, that story we create about the feeling in our mind.
Yeah, I'll first start by talking about the difference between explain 3 levels of awareness. The first level is the actual physical sensation that's happening in your body. Describing it by does it have a shape? Does it have a color? Does it have a texture? Does it have a size? Like, if you were to describe this uncomfortable feeling you're having, how would you describe it in just simple adjectives? There's that level of awareness, and then there's the level of awareness of what we're calling that sensation. This is our emotions. So I'm calling this sensation sadness or shame, or I'm calling this anxiety, or I'm calling this any other anger, any other emotion that we have a label for is just a set of sensations in the body that we've gotten used to identifying as this emotion. So there's the level of sensation, which is just as is. This is just what's happening in my system. There's the level of emotion, which is now I'm putting it into a box of this emotion. And then the next level is the mental awareness, where you're judging the emotion or trying to figure out why it's there. So there's a story involved now. So, okay, why am I sad? Why am I anxious right now? I'm always anxious when this happens. And this is where the story and the mind complicates things. And so there's this, as soon as you, that mind level awareness is only the first layer. And so once you get stuck there, it's really hard to escape, because it's sneaky and it loops and it like tells you all these stories. And sometimes it will tell you why, and you'll believe it for a short period of time, or you'll distract yourself to something else. And it gives you this little moment of relief, but it's not lasting, because you didn't actually deal with the sensation. You just distracted. And so people get really used to these little short short bursts of relief. And those are the actions that most people are taking that make up the majority of their life, is they're just taking little actions to avoid feeling sensations in the body that we've judged as not good, judged as wrong, judged as the bad emotions, judged as things I don't want to feel. And when you get to a layer that's deeper than that, into just, oh, I'm feeling tingling in my fingers. I've got this tight sensation in my chest and it's red. And it's, when you get to that level, that's what we call pure acceptance. You're not making this thing in your chest wrong. You're just actually accepting it. You're saying, oh, thank you for being here. Oh, interesting. Wow. That wasn't there a moment ago. Oh, it's here now. You get curious about it. And this is the process we do in our work, is just getting to the level of full acceptance of what's happening.
I find this explanation fascinating, getting curious about our feelings and accepting them without judgment. And let's listen now to how Chris explains dealing with emotions, feeling them through, letting them happen.
Emotions go really fast. If you watch a child and they're playing with their toys, and then one of them breaks, and they're immediately sad. Oh my God, I'm sad. I'm toys. And they feel through it, and they feel through it, and they feel through it. And what happens on the other side of a tantrum? They're ready to play again. Yeah, that's us as well. But we suppress the part that wants to throw the tantrum. So rather than just throwing the tantrum and be like, yeah, I'm sad right now, I'm angry right now, and feeling it for 2 minutes, we suppress it. And it's just this low level anger. It's this low level sadness that just keeps stacking up. And so we teach people how to feel it, how to feel what's there, not judge it, just let it happen, let it move through you in a really safe way, safe container. And when they get to the other side of it, they're like, oh, that's it. That's it. Like, I was avoiding just feeling this thing, and we just felt it in 2 or 3 minutes, and I feel great. Like, yeah.
And we will listen to one last clip from this conversation about how most people are not actually in control of their own life, because their decisions and actions are directed trying to avoid these sensations in our own body that we call emotions, that we form stories about in our mind.
It's the mind that wants to understand it. It's the mind that wants to control it. And so anytime, and this is the constant practice for everyone, but anytime we jump back to our mind, we use the breath and the safety to just come back to the body. Nope, it's safe to go into that. Nope, it's safe to experience this sensation. And we just keep, nope, that's it. And it's so simple. And it gives you control back of your life, because you're no longer controlled by these sensations in your body that we call emotions, that we form stories about in our mind. And most people, this is the common ailment of most people, is that the entirety of their lives are being directed. All of their actions, all of their thoughts, all of their being is being directed by avoiding certain sensations in their own body. The fear, the judgment, all of that is just controlling the way they live their life. And when they no longer have those things driving their life, they get to now create their life.
We will listen next to Sayyedah Hassanali, a transformation and leadership coach and an intuitive healer, who I spoke with in episode 148. We discussed the topic of becoming the master of our emotions, and she talked about the concept that Dr. Joe Dispenza describes as the ring of fire, sitting in the discomfort of our emotions.
So this process of sitting in the ring of fire, it is the most painful and the most liberating thing at the same time. So this ring of fire in the context of what Joe Dispenza is talking about is it's really sitting in the discomfort of your emotions. And that's why for a lot of people, practicing the present moment is so difficult because it's very uncomfortable. Because as soon as you get into a quiet space, your mind gets bombarded with so many things of the past, regrets, resentments, failures, you name it. So much is being bombarded. So sitting in that ring, but in order to climb or it's kind of like you're mountain climbing, you're trying to get to the top. It's not an easy journey, but it's so worthwhile. But it's being able to find that courage to really just sit with your emotions, being in that ring of fire, right? And when you sit with the emotions and you allow an emotion to, because there's a lot of things that are stored in our subconscious mind that we're not even aware of. Mm-hmm. We don't know half the things that are 90%, not even half. We don't know 90% of the things that hold us back because we're just operating from a conscious mind, which is just the 5%, but 95 is your subconscious. But how do we allow the contents of the subconscious mind to show up in the conscious, in the surface, so that you can actually release it? Well, you have to go still. You have to go quiet so you can make room for the stuff to come up. And that's really that's the initiation process. That's the ring of fire that you're sitting in because it's a very uncomfortable thing.
We will now listen to a different aspect of emotions, emotional prosperity, from Chris Barrow. Chris Barrow is a consultant, business coach, speaker and writer, and we had a conversation in episode 103 where he spoke about being emotionally prosperous versus materially prosperous. Here's how he describes it using his own story and the transition from his career.
I was materially prosperous as a result of a combination of hard work and good fortune, but I was not emotionally prosperous in the work that I was doing. And I was almost subconsciously kind of keeping my eyes and ears open to say, there must be more than this in one's professional life, because just making a bunch of money and living in a nice house and driving a nice car and raising a trophy family and sending the kids off to private school and going on, quote, the holiday, close quote, all of those things weren't feeding me. So moment number one was a half-time complete career transition. And with the benefit of hindsight, I could not be more happy that I did that. You know what? If I'd stayed in financial services, I would probably be now retired. I would probably be now financially independent. I would probably have built a successful practice and I would probably have sold it. And I might have been even more materially prosperous than I was when I took the decision. But I know in my bones, I know that I wouldn't have been emotionally prosperous even with the financial security around me. So I'm so glad that I made that decision. And one of the things that I do share with people, and I know we were talking about this before we went live today, Aggie, but I know that one of the things I do share with people is that it is okay to have a career transition.
In the field of entrepreneurship, there's much advice given in the business coaching world about scaling your business in a way that eventually you can exit the business or sell it. But that's not right for everyone, and Chris chose not to. So in the next clip we will listen, he spoke about accepting the limitations of being a freelancer, again, for the purpose of emotional prosperity.
Accepting the life of the freelancer and accepting the material limitations of the life of the freelancer. I'm never going to have a business that I can sell to somebody else because the business is Chris Barrow. And if, to coin a phrase, when Elvis leaves the building, the show's over. So there's never going to be a for sale sign up outside Extreme Business. And therefore, I've accepted the material limitations of that and said, okay, make sure you make a good living, make sure you put plenty of money into savings. And I've done that in return for the emotional prosperity of being my own boss, of having nobody to answer to, of being free to make a success of it or to make a hash of it, and of being free to decide every single day what mood I am in, and to not have that mood influenced by other people's performance or behavior.
And again, on the topic of material versus emotional prosperity, let's listen to a last clip from this conversation where Chris uses his son as an example.
I have a son who gave up a career in digital advertising. He literally walked out of a city centre office at 5 o'clock on a Friday night and left his keys on the table. And he started in his early 30s, he started up a dog walking business. And he works for himself. He's got nobody else there, but he walks dogs 3 times a day. And he's the happiest man I know. And his material prosperity is quite limited. Don't get me wrong, he has a nice life, but it's a limited material prosperity. But his emotional prosperity is through the roof. I've rarely met a happier man.
I hope you found something valuable among these parts of the conversations and also something actionable, something you can implement yourself. If you have enjoyed this episode, you will find great value in my podcast's supporters community. Here are some of the benefits you will get by joining my supporters community. You will gain access to exclusive, tailored for you content from me and my guests. You will have your questions answered in special Ask Me Anything episodes. You will meet people just like you who value personal development in our community online meetups. You will participate in my mindset and accountability mastermind group and much more. The link is in the show notes, or you can simply type bit.ly/PDM supporter. And until next time, stand out, don't fit in.